can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Or the touchdown to go ahead. Rodgers, option, pitch, didn't get it. They stopped him. Cal Thornton, the captain linebacker, with a game-saving play and a loss of 1.
Jimbo. Kill the music. Break it up. Let's hear it. Ah!
Hey. T-O-N.
I think you're off.
S-T-A-T-C-O-U-G-S. Go Cougs!
Oh, okay, one more time. Let's just say it one more time. One more fucking time. One more fucking time. Great play, Fish. There you got him, Thornton. There you go.
Cal Thornton, the captain linebacker, with a game.
Put a shirt on, fella. Put a shirt on. That guy. All right, we welcome you in. It's a Monday edition here of the Daily Puck Drop. I'm Jason Puckett. Jim Moore with you. We are broadcasting from the PuckSports studios. It is built by Limback Lumber. Contractors, they offer free deliveries, everything from whole house package to homeowner DIY projects. And I believe they'll take money off for any Coug families and businesses. I don't think so, but, I'm just going to throw it out there for those guys. They've got the largest.
Hey, if Pat Chun wanted a deck, would they charge him extra?
I think if Pat Chun wanted a deck, they'd say no. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Call Limback Lumber, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. I'm so happy. What do they say? Basking in the afterglow.
Yes,
hey, we get
are.
365 days of this, don't we?
Oh, beautiful.
We get 365 days of it. I like the idea that our coach had about retiring the trophy over there. And, that was just a fantastic afternoon.
How stupid are some of these other fans?
I can't remember the...
Do they not understand what he meant by that? Some of these other fans are so stupid. They're going to quit playing the game. That's not what he meant. But, God, you're so dumb sometimes. But okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. It's just I can't remember the last time I cried over a Cougar victory. And I was surprised because, after we stopped them and then after God, that was beautiful when they went off sides and we didn't even have to give the ball back to them. That was fantastic. And then after, the clock went down to 0 and I saw the coaches taking off the headsets and I realized that we had won the game. My daughter looked at me and I was at my 2-year-old granddaughter's birthday party and she just looked at me and she goes, "Are you crying?" And I went, "Yeah, I think I am." I think I was just overcome with the emotion. I just thought, damn it, we fucking did it.
You tell Brooke it's okay to cry. And part of the reason that he's crying, Brooke, is because you made him go to your daughter's birthday party. Okay. That's part of it.
Well, plus I'm just tearing up because I'm so happy that we came through, God, so many times you go into a game and you got these high expectations and we don't even come close to meeting them. And we met the expectations and the game played out, just beautifully. It was just so fantastic. And it's just, we're just so proud to be Cougs anyway. Even if we had lost, we'd be going, that's too bad. But it was nice to be happy, wasn't it? It was just, I like being happy over unhappy.
Well, it just makes the whole weekend so much better, does it not?
Yeah.
And it doesn't ruin your weekend. And it just, that game. We talked a lot about this, right? And I think when we were still back on the radio days, and I'll fully admit, and this is the thing, is like fans can change their minds anytime they want because we say this all the time. We're all hypocrites, and in the wave of the emotion of what happened to the conference, I don't think you were like this, but I was like, I don't want to play it anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm done with it. And then I think as the weeks and months went by, you realize, okay, that's what I said was out of emotion of something that, I was annoyed and bothered by, not only just Washington's decision. It's just the destruction. It's not so much what they did. It's just the destruction of West Coast football. And I know it was destroyed before and all that with the LA schools. But, as again, the win does change it. But even before the win, when you get in there and you see, and we were mostly in a Cougar section. We got there at halftime. There were a few Husky fans there. They're fine. But you just realize, but you see a lot of mingling between the two fan bases. Okay. Not all of it's the worst thing in the world. And you just realize, okay, it's like, it should be played. It's the best for the state. It's best for the two universities to play. It was an awesome atmosphere. I don't want to hear anybody shit talk what the atmosphere was like in there. It's just, if someone's going to do that today, then they're just bitter because of the game. It was a great atmosphere inside. It wasn't packed, but it was loud as hell, and it was fun. Now it was fun because we won. The good guys won, but it was a sensational atmosphere. It really was. And when they got the ball back with 3 minutes and they hit Giles Jackson, with that long pass play, Jim, I mean, I turned to my daughter. I'm like, we're going to freaking lose. We had all this opportunity to put this game away. Just put it away. And we're going to lose this damn thing. And they just made an unbelievable stop on fourth down. I mean, we can criticize the play call. It was a terrible play call. I think it's one of the worst, if not the worst, play call in Apple Cup history. But it is. I mean, what's a worse play than that?
No, okay, yeah, because they should have. I just think it's odd what they do with that second string quarterback of theirs.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. What they do. It's stupid. It's stupid. He should be.
And Rodgers feels the same way.
He said it after the game. He basically said it. I'm just doing what I'm told. It's idiotic. I don't care how good you think the kid is. You don't put him in that situation ever. Dumb.
Plus, don't you feel when he
coaching.
comes in that he's either going to throw a short pass or run? It seems like it would be easier for a defensive coordinator when that kid comes in. I mean, it won't be down the road, but right now it is.
It was said by, and I'm blanking who said it, and they're so right. God, I'm blanking who said it on Twitter. I don't want to hear any more. Okay, we're gonna get back to the Cougs in a second. I don't want to hear any more. If I was a Husky fan, about his NFL pedigree anymore. Stop talking about the NFL, because was not an NFL prepared team. They committed 16 penalties. I'll tell you, there should have been 20 penalties. They held on every single pass play. They held the receivers, every one of them, including the one where it was an interception late in the game. He was held on that one. They missed the out of bounds when the kid was on the punt return. He was 3 yards out of bounds. He got hit. They were penalized all over the place, and they should have called more. But I don't want to hear any more about we're doing NFL things here. No NFL coach would have called that play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that one because, I mean, if it had worked, then he would have been a genius. It would have been brilliant. Nobody expected Will Rogers to run the option play there on fourth down, and so it caught us off guard.
Yeah.
So anytime a play caller calls a play, I just kind of go, well, he thought that was the best play at the time.
He's not a mobile quarterback, and you're running a speed option to the near side of the field.
Well, the other thing I appreciate about his play calling all day, I would have gone into the game and thought, hey, man, we got this running back who's pretty damn good. And as I recall, when I was in Tucson last year, we were in Pullman, and he ran roughshod over the Cougs at Martin Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand that kid the ball all day long and try and get him 150 yards on the ground. But they didn't really do that.
No.
I mean, I know that we were pretty good against him when he did get it, but I was worried that kid might go off for 150 or 200, and we kept him pretty much in check.
What'd I tell you, huh? What did I tell you about Johnny Football? What did I tell you?
Yes. Okay, how much praise do you want for Johnny Football?
I want all the praise. I want all of it. Every bit of it. I want all of it.
How about 3rd and 20? And he runs for a touchdown.
Because he's a freaking athlete. He's a freak. I think he's an absolute freak, this guy.
I know. I'm starting to think we can go 12-0, Puck. I'm starting to think we
don't
can go
get ahead.
12-0.
Don't start getting ahead of ourselves.
Don't do that. I was popping off about this game. And did we win? Yes.
Yeah. Well, Boise scares the life out of me.
Well, yeah, Boise does. And San Jose State Friday night. I know it's San Jose State, but they're 3-0. And you talk about a letdown spot.
Well, of course.
That is the most classic letdown spot. It's a sandwich game. I mean, we played Washington. Now we're going to play San Jose State, and we got Boise State next week. I mean, I'm worried that we're feeling like, hey, we would over Seattle. We won the game. You know, we can just show up and beat San Jose State.
Okay, let's get back to more praising me and then Johnny Mateer. Okay, can we get back to that, please?
You were right about John Mateer, Cam Ward. You were right about him.
We don't win that.
You know what
game.
else you're right about? You're right about Geno Smith being the quarterback all year, and I'm going to lose $250 to you.
Hey, we don't win that game if Cam Ward's the quarterback. We don't.
No,
we don't win that game.
No,
we just don't.
Yeah,
he put the team on his back. I mean, the first half he had 182 yards passing and rushed for 50 and had 2 touchdowns. The best player on the field. Just was. He was the best player on the field all game.
And there's room for improvement, which I like too. I mean, his passing numbers haven't been that great, but potentially I think he can be a really good passer too. So, you know, you combine the two elements to his game, and then you look at our schedule. Really, Puck, I mean, I know I'm looking ahead here. I mean, we're favored by 14 over San Jose State.
Look ahead, go ahead.
And you're right about Boise State. But if we get past Boise State, we're going to be favored in the rest of our games, home and away.
We still got the chainsaw, though. We got to go down to the chainsaw.
No, I know, but we'll be favored in that game, too, if we go into that game being, 10-0, and then we finish up with Wyoming?
You think if
and
we're
then we're in the college football playoff.
Yeah, right. You think if we're wouldn't that be something? You think if we're 10-0 and like the Beavers are kind of like, you know, struggling a little bit, the Beavers go, hey, let's lay down for the Cougs, give them a win. So they can get in the college football playoff. Hey, I want to play this. I'm sure you've seen it. You watched the game on TV, so you saw it. I didn't see it until obviously the game was over. But come on, how about our head coach Jake Dickert after the game? How can you not love Jake Dickert and what he means to this football program? He's unbelievable.
The Apple Cup will be heading home with the Cougars. How?
Grit, toughness. I love this team. They stayed here for this. Sorry, I'm emotional, but I love these guys. They love each other. We said we were going to win this game, not because we hated them, but because we loved each other. And that's what you saw there for 4 quarters.
I mean, how do you not love the guy?
No, I know. I think even Husky fans probably like our coach.
Probably. Yeah. You think they would?
Can I just throw in a shot at the Huskies too, if you don't mind? Do Belichick's kid and Carroll's kid, do they not look like hobos? I mean, come on. Like if you're Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick, you look at your kids going, yeah, I'm really proud of the positions they have here at Washington, but you know, they could use a little grooming maybe.
I think
and they could pull away, put the fork down a little bit too, maybe.
I think if you saw both of them walking out of one of these broken down RVs that are in Ballard near me, I think you wouldn't be surprised. I think you wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Pete Carroll's kid looks like hell.
Boy, I'll tell you that.
Pete even thinks that.
Yeah,
that like talking to his wife. Hey, God,
what?
Doesn't look too good out there, but yeah.
Hey, Brennan, looks like you've added some weight. Woo! I don't know. You got to get on my diet. I don't need any meat, and I'm out there. I'm running around on the beach. I got my 2 gloves on. Woo, woo, woo. Maybe you should put the fork down. No, don't be less like Puckett. Be more like Jim and me. We're healthy.
Let's spin the wheel and see which one of those kids gets fired first.
Yeah, well,
Belichick's kid or
do I have
kid?
the wheel? I should have the wheel. Yeah. What does Brennan Carroll do? I'd love to really know what that guy does.
Honestly, Puck, what I just said about Carroll's kid and Belichick's kid, it really wasn't as funny as I'm making it out to be. But sometimes I just amuse myself.
They do look
and
like
so
hobos.
I apologize to listeners for that.
No,
like who am I to criticize someone's appearance? You know, I was growing this dumbass mustache for a while until somebody gave me shit about it on Twitter, and then I looked at myself and I thought, what are you doing, Jim? And so I was in a Toppenish gas station and I shaved it off.
So Toppenish, shout out to Toppenish. I think our first Toppenish reference here on PuckSports. He was Yeah, Dicker was great. Everything about it was a gritty win. It was a win that is just so unlike them. I think in this series, a lot of times they're overmatched physically. Not even the case on Saturday. They were the more physical team. They were tougher than them. They were smarter than them. They were They were better coached than them. They had better athletes. I mean, all of it. All I heard about is all these great athletes and all the defensive line of Washington. Told you about the defensive line. I told you that wouldn't be an issue for them. And it wasn't. Wasn't an issue.
Well, they held us pretty much in check in the second half.
Okay, they still gain over 150 yards on the ground.
Yeah,
140 yards.
Are you concerned about our defense a little bit, though? I mean, we gave up a lot of yardage to Texas Tech and Washington.
They gave up 19 points. No.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Kept them out of the end zone.
Okay.
Do you want me to? Do you recall that stop? What happened? I mean, just in case you didn't see it, just want to make sure you saw this play again.
Option. Pitch.
That's right. Thornton got him.
Okay, I have a confession about that.
Just want to make sure you saw that.
I have a confession. Before that play, during the timeout, my 95-year-old mom was sitting next to me. And of course, by this time, there's all these little kids running around at the birthday party, and I'm honest to God, and I love kids.
I just want them to shut up.
But I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, I just want to watch this play, please. And then I said to my mom, I go, Mom, I'm not religious or anything, but I'll go to church on Sunday if we can stop them here. Please, God. I was praying to praying to Allah. I was praying to whoever. I was praying to anybody that we would stop them there. And I feel bad though. I didn't go to church. And I think God understands though, because the Seahawks had a 10 a.m. game. Yeah. So I'm hoping you understand. If
it was the only thing I didn't, and I wonder if you feel like me. The only thing I didn't like is that the Seahawks had an early game. I wanted more basking in the glow for us. I didn't. In fact, that would have been a perfect weekend that the Seahawks had a bye and didn't play. Yeah. So we could just, because you see it like our buddy Softy and others, they'll quickly start talking about the Mariners are playing tonight, blah blah blah, and can't wait for the Seahawks game tomorrow. They'll just quickly change their tone like on social media.
Yeah, well, I was proud of myself. I listened to the pregame show with Softy a little bit because 710 didn't have the Cougar pregame show. They farmed it out to 770 or something.
Shocker that they wouldn't care about Cougar football. Yeah.
So, and then, Softy had Phil Steele on, and, Phil Steele, who supposedly knows so much about football. I really like, the Huskies, the talent will win out in the end, and they're going to win by 7. So I texted, Softy and said, Phil Steele doesn't know shit. And he goes, you want to bet on the game? And I was like, yeah, I'll bet on the game. And so he gave me 4.5 for $100. I'm still waiting for Softy to Venmo me the money.
There you go.
Yeah.
So $100
maybe he doesn't make enough at KJR there to pay me. I'm not sure, but
I don't think he does. I think he's going to struggle. I think he's going to struggle to pay you, my friend. Yeah, I really do.
I won like $300 or $400 on the Cougs. It was awesome.
It was good. What a glorious. God, it was a glorious.
You got to start betting on us. We're 3-0 against the spread.
No, I told you, no betting. No betting, not going to happen. Never going to happen.
Come on.
No, can't do it.
It doubles the happiness.
I don't do it. I have the happiness in the world just sitting there watching them win. We made it there at halftime. We pulled up. We got tickets as we were pulling in. Paid $80 to park downtown.
No.
Just 80,
no, did you?
$80 to park at halftime. And I asked the
80?
person, I said,
you paid that?
Well, there was nowhere to park. Jim, they have taken all downtown parking away. There's nowhere to park down there. Nowhere.
Well, is that like the most you've ever paid by about $40?
That's the most I have ever paid for parking.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the King Street station, there's a garage there. There's no parking. You can't park on the street. They've just made it impossible to park anywhere. And so then I'm driving around. I'm trying to find anything free or just anything cheaper. And there just was nothing. They were winding down. It was halftime, and I knew that we had about 15 minutes. I wanted to get in there for the second half. See it. I just said, no, F it. We'll pay it. Let's just go. Begrudgingly, but whatever. It's got in there.
Well, I mean, you had no choice.
No choice. Had to do it. Had to pay the $80. Got in there and was great. Had great section, great Coug fans. It was just perfect. I mean, we got $50 a pop. I mean, paid too much. I probably should have just found a scalper on the street, but I didn't want to deal with it. $50 a pop. So they still were $50 for second half of a football game, but whatever. It was like the section 137 of the Cougs, like on the 40-yard line. It was great. They were great seats. They were awesome.
Nice. And you were down on the field celebrating. You got a picture with your daughter, with John Mateer.
Well, my
the
son,
Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah, he was like, we got to rush the field. We got to rush the field. And I said, hey, I go, they don't let anybody rush the field in NFL games. They just don't do it. There's no way they're going to, and you can see, I go, look at they got like a wall of all those, you know, the green jackets or the blue jackets down there. No one's going to let us on the field. And then there was like one guy like where the Cougar tunnel was, he jumped down, some big dude, some big tubbo, and he was running towards the field and the security guard tackled him. I said, see, they're not going to let anybody on the field. And then it just slowly trickled out. There was one after another. And then where our section was, they just said, come on down. And so people, and that's a hell of a jump though. You get over that rail. I mean, it's a good, like 4-foot jump, 5-foot jump. Yeah. Not good. I was going to tear a knee on the way down.
Did you roll out of it or land on your feet?
Landed on my feet, stuck the landing, and then did the Mary Lou turn like I nailed it, and then waved. Then got on the field, and then the kids got pictures with Johnny Football, Mateer for Heisman. My daughter was hyperventilating. Oh my god, that's Mateer. Oh my god, he's so hot. Oh my god, he's so cute. He smells so good. I'm like, he's sweating. I know, but and he talked to me. He said hello. She's hyperventilating.
Well, yeah, he's a good-looking kid, man. He's a great quarterback, and he's a Coug. Come on, you got everything all rolled into one there. And then did he come up to you and say, God, sir, what an honor it was to talk to you at PuckSports.com?
He said, thank you for supporting me for the last 2 years. No one believed in me but you. So all of this today, all the credit, it's because of you, because you believed in me.
Yeah, you know, he should have said that. I know he didn't, but you've been day one or, you know, before day one even got here. You've been on John Mateer this, John Mateer that. And I was always thinking, hey, Cam Ward's pretty good. You shouldn't downplay, you know, what Ward has done for us. But no, you're right, man. You're right.
He's just, I mean, look at all the plays he makes. It's not just in the running game and those 2 touchdowns. I mean, how many quarterbacks on 3rd and 20 on a quarterback draw score? This is how good he is. I mean, he's 6'1" and he's all of 215, 25 pounds. I mean, he's a big kid. He's a big load. This is how physical he is. This is how much they out physicaled Washington in that game. When Carson Bruner tackled him late, he injured Carson Bruner, not the other way around. Usually it's the linebacker injures the quarterback.
Right.
But John Mateer lowering his shoulder injured Carson Bruner, and Carson Bruner had to leave the game. That's
well, not only was I happy we scored on 3rd and 20. I mean, what a huge play in the game, obviously. But I was also thinking, thank God we scored so we don't have to get Janikowski out here again. Our kicker has issues, man. I didn't know how bad it was, but Greg Woods and the spokesman, he detailed it. He's 3 for his last 9 over the last 2 seasons.
He has not been good. He has not
3 for 9. That was 26 yards that he whiffed on.
It wasn't the best snap and hold though. I mean, it was, but it's he should make it. He should make it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's, you know, that he's missing his holder or what, you know, but come on. That's going to cost us. That's going to cost us at some point.
How much, like, you could see the vitriol, and this is what I love more than anything, just because I love all the NFL talk of how prepared they are. Well, Belichick, wasn't Bill Belichick going to help him out, like stop us, like stop Mateer? Wasn't that going to be like his goal and Steve? And remember all the times that they were able to stop Lamar Jackson and all that? And you can already see the fan base turning on Jed Fish. You can already see it. I love it. I just love it more than anything. Do you think there's a picture circulating? I think I've posted it. Do you think he's like glaring, dazing off in like the distance? And all I'm thinking about is that what's going through his mind. One, I miss the sun. I miss. This is miserable. I miss it. I miss 75 to 85 degrees. 2, I just blew my chance at Florida because Billy Napier is going to get fired here soon. And yeah, I miss Humberto. I miss Humberto so much. If I could just have the sweet, comfortable embrace of Humberto, I'd be such a better person right now.
Hey, Puck, one of those. I mean, I know you've got Dickert 5 times this year on Cougs Corner, and you're talking to Mateer and assistant coaches, but God, if you could carve out some room for Humberto at some point.
Should we get Humberto on the show?
Yeah. And, tell us about your relationship with Jed Fish and how it went south, and then just go from there. God, that'd be perfect. So, yeah, you bring up Billy Napier. I'm following Florida.
Of course.
They're 1-2, and they're playing at Mississippi State this week.
He's going to get fired.
And if he can end up, go 1-3. And so I don't really want the Huskies to beat Northwestern this week. They're favored by 11, and I've already bet on Northwestern they're getting 11.
Yeah.
I kind of want the Huskies to win by 1 or 2 so he stays in the Billy Napier sweepstakes. And then, of course, want Florida to lose. We have to have Florida to lose, and then we have to have Jed Fish denying all these reports that he's going to go there.
Yeah.
Just complete chaos at Washington.
That's what you
I want Pat Chun to be more miserable than he was Saturday night.
Did anyone get a good shot of the traitor Pat Chun? Where was he at? When I was down on the field, I was trying to find him as fast as I could.
Oh, you didn't see him down on the field?
No, I didn't see him. I'm just curious where
you didn't see
Pat
him
Chun
like
is.
class acting along, saying, hey, Coach Dickert, nice job, congratulations. No. You didn't see any of that?
No, I didn't see that. No,
yeah.
I couldn't see him, just being so gracious and so respectful of the team and the school that he used to lead. I hope his night, which I'm sure it was miserable.
Yeah, I do too.
Miserable.
I do too, and I want him to be looking for a new coach at the end of the year. I do. I can't wait to see Jed Fish in Gainesville, with the blue and the orange on and that fucking visor that he's wearing. There's something like when people wear visors, it's
you don't like visors,
on,
never have. You've
wear
never
a
liked
fucking
visors.
hat.
You've never
don't
liked
wear
it.
a visor.
So you're confident, letdown. I don't think it's going to be a letdown game this week.
Yes, it is.
I don't think so. This is not a good. You know who their quarterback is? A former walk-on at Wazoo.
Who is it?
Emmett Brown. You don't even know who that is, dude.
Well, they're 3-0.
Yeah, they average 1.9 yards a game on the ground. We'll be fine.
Well,
we're going to be fine.
How do we get up for that game Friday night? Because all the parents are going to be there?
Well, let me tell you about Viagra. It's a little blue pill you take. Give all the players
and you and I both feel this way, so we might as well tell everyone how we feel about it. It should be Dad's weekend, okay?
Well, it is Dad's weekend. It's not Parents' weekend. It's Dad's weekend. God.
This Parents' weekend.
So
what, is it like a politically correct thing to do or something?
Probably.
Was there something wrong with having dads in the fall and moms in the spring?
What
was wrong with that?
I don't know.
Did anyone complain?
They think
Who
they
complained
just
about
changed
that?
it. Mikey and Stevie. I don't know. I didn't want you there. So you're going? You want 2 of my tickets?
Yeah. And Kathy's real concerned about that. I'm not going if we don't have tickets beforehand. I go, well, don't worry about it. I'll find tickets.
I'll get you tickets. Are you going to actually sit in the seats this time or not?
Yeah, probably not, but maybe.
Okay, well, then maybe. I think it should be.
Are you going?
I don't know yet. Maybe.
Okay. Well, if you're going, I'll sit next to you if you want me to.
I think you should sit. I think as part, if I give you the tickets, even if I don't go, I think you should sit in the seats. Why would you not sit in the seats? I don't understand that. It's a nice section.
Well, because my buddies are up on the 40-yard line, and the seats are a little better than yours.
Oh, no. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, why don't you ask your buddy who sits on the 40-yard line for free tickets then?
No.
I mean, it's Parents' weekend. I could sell those for a pretty penny with all the parents coming over.
Okay, how do you feel about this, real quick? Like Parents' weekend, so the hotel rooms are through the roof. I mean that dump of a hotel next to the Old European, they're around $500 a night. This
of course.
Week. Yeah. So we asked Mikey and Stevie, and they live in separate apartments. If we could, maybe stay at one of their apartments. Well, Mikey got a big old no for that. And then we had to remind him, how much are you paying for this apartment?
So your son, who you are paying to go to school, who you've paid for everything in his life, for the apartment you are paying for now, you probably give him an allowance. He probably doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I even texted him this morning, asked if they needed some money because, Dad made some money on the Apple Cup.
So he's telling you, no, you can't stay in my apartment. Yeah, I would tell him, well, then you can get out because you're not paying for it. I mean, that's
and
pretty
so now
simple.
I'm checking with Stevie. He lives in a different apartment to see if it's okay with Stevie.
You just tell Mike. First of all, why are you asking permission? You're the adult. You're the father. God, just tell him you're staying there.
What do you want me to say? Hey,
I want
listen,
you,
little fucker, we're staying there.
I want you to be a lion, not a sheep. A lion would just tell their son we're staying there. A sheep like you was like, hey, excuse me, little son, can I stay there, please? Come on.
Well, I don't get it because when I went over for the Texas Tech game and he was like, hey, Dad, I got clean sheets for you and everything. But we're adding Mom into the equation, and somehow that changed things because I stayed there at his apartment, for the Texas Tech game. So,
he just doesn't want Mom busting his balls. I don't know.
Like, would he rather have Mom and Dad spend, $1,000 for 2 nights at the that dump next to the old European?
I'm telling you, that's one of the worst hotels in the world. It's awful. The fact that you got to pay that amount of money for it. So you're confident right now. So you're a little nervous this week, and you think you got a chance. God, wouldn't it be something this year? I mean, we'll get way ahead of ourselves. And I know in the back of my mind, something bad's going to happen. We're going to blow some stupid game we shouldn't blow. But dream big. I saw percentages for the college football playoffs already, and they have
what are we?
24%.
We're 24%.
Yes.
Really?
Something like that.
I figured you'd say like 2%.
No, like 20%, 24%.
Well, and if I'm tuning into this, I mean, listen to these Homer Cougs talking about it. But our schedule this year, we don't play anybody except for Boise State the rest of the way.
I mean,
so it sounds crazy, Puck, but it's realistic, honestly.
But
we can say, okay, how about if not 12-0, 11-1?
Yeah, I would just tell this to people. Yes, we're crazy, we're irrational, we're Coug fans, but just give us a few days to kind of bask in this a little bit and dream big. We've been crapped on here for a long time. All right, for the last year plus. Allow us to have take some liberties with what's coming up. All right.
Can you imagine, like, if we got in as like the number 12 team, and I think you get a bye if you're the top 4, I think.
Yeah.
And then if we somehow made it to the Final 4, God, would our lives would be made, wouldn't they? I mean, even if we didn't win the whole thing.
So, what was it like watching that game at a 2-year-old's birthday party? I've got to know. What was that like?
Yeah, it was fine until 3:00, and that's when the party started. I got there at noon, and I didn't let it affect. I mean, I still had an old Crimson beer, from the Krueger Collective in my right hand, and then off to my left I had some bourbon in a glass, and so I would go back and forth. Yeah. And then when my mom got there, I didn't want to just be a complete drunk or anything. So I slowed down a little bit. But no, after the game was over, with all the Cougs that were there, we got together in the kitchen and we had shot glasses and we had a victory shot.
So it was good. So the party was going on while at 3:00, and the game gets over at what, 4-ish?
Probably 4.
So are you not paying attention to anything that's going on during the birthday party? You're not paying attention.
Yeah, no, and my daughter was okay with it. She's a Coug, and and her husband's a Coug, and they had a TV outside, so I was out on the patio area watching it out there. So that was fun.
With other people,
but I mean, it was
the
complete chaos, with 2-year-olds running around, and some people had infants, and it was fine. I mean, I would have rather been at the game.
Oh, it was great. It was great. It was so much fun. People were losing their minds. They were people were so happy at the game. They were so happy. Crying.
Well,
it was great.
Yeah. I like the picture I saw of people down on the field, and the middle fingers out, because that really, honest to God, that really was a fuck you game to the Huskies, to the pack, to the teams that left us, hey, we're still here, everybody. We're still here. We still have a a good program. And yeah, I don't know. There's just so many different emotions that went into that game, and
Sure.
I know that it probably didn't mean the same to the Huskies, and especially Jed Fish, coming in and all these new guys that they had. But I think Dickert, pounded the point home pretty well with his team that how important this game was for us.
It's weird because he talked about it leading up that week that it wasn't a good week of practice. It was bad.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising.
But it's weird sometimes when they say that. Like, you hear pitchers talk about this all the time.
In the bullpen?
Like, in the bullpen, they're like, I couldn't find the strike zone. I'm throwing everything in the dirt. I was all over the place. And they go out and throw a no-hitter.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird how
No,
that
I know. It just worked out. I mean, it was just so much fun, wasn't it? I mean, it just was like, God, even the way it ended. And what do you think, though, if they had scored? I mean, I had already figured they were going to score.
Oh, for sure.
Not on that fourth down play, but, when it was first and goal or wherever they had it, I thought, okay, let's make sure we have enough time to come back here. And hopefully they won't make the 2-point conversion, so they'll only be up by 1. And then I thought, God, okay, number one, I thought, God, can Mateer, is he going to be good enough passing? Are we going to give him enough time where he can get us into field goal range? And then I was thinking, oh, shit, our kicker, will he actually make it? And I was thinking, probably not. Yeah. I mean, if Janikowski had come out for a game-winning kick, I think I might have had to have bet against the kid. I mean, I love him, but I don't think – if he'd had a 45-yard field goal to win it, I don't think he would have made it.
It's going to be I know that Fish owned up to it after the game, but it's just I'm still just I cannot understand what he was thinking. I get your point. Hey, if it worked out, he's a hero and all that. But I mean, the fact is they saw that look, called a timeout, came back over and still talked about it and still said, yeah, let's run that play again.
Yeah.
To me, what I think everybody in our section was saying was that I would have just handed the ball off to Coleman. Just let it, you know what? He's 5'8". He's like 230 pounds, and just see if he can run right up the middle. And if you know what, they stuff you, stuff you. But I would think that you'd be pretty confident in that bowling ball of a running back to be able to.
I didn't think I could be any happier than I was on that fourth down stop, but I proved myself wrong when they jumped off sides twice.
Oh.
God, that was like, God. It's just, thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
It's a mental breakdown.
If we had to kick back to them and they still had, 40 seconds or whatever, I mean, who knows?
And that's the other thing is I'm yelling at them. Get out of the shotgun from the one. Get under center. Because all I could think about was, it's going to – and first of all, that snap – the first snap was a little hot. Go back and watch it again. It was a little hot. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, if he – like somehow it's a bad snap. They recover the ball in the end zone.
Well, or not worst case, but, sort of worst case. If we'd had a safety, then they're within 3.
Yeah.
We punt from the 20, and then they just need a field goal. And their kicker was money compared to ours.
Yeah. Well – we don't got to worry about it, my friend. Don't got to worry about it. Because she's back where she belongs. And I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, you think about his success, talking about Dicker. I mean, these last few games have been really damn good, right? They all have been. And, things go differently last year, right? They actually call a holding penalty on that fourth down and 1 play. I mean, he's 3-1 in these things. You think about it. I mean, he's been, that the first time they played, obviously, was a blowout. The next year in Pullman was a great game before they pulled away in that second half or that late in the fourth quarter. But that was a great game. And then last year was epic, and this year was epic as well. So, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been
Jake Dicker 2-2 in the Apple Cup. I can't get over 24% chance to be in the college football playoff.
No.
Where'd you see that?
Online, on Twitter, someplace. I mean, that may just be a made-up number, but it was on Twitter. Some college football playoff.
Would you take us at 24%?
Sure, why not?
No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Can you imagine if they were to somehow get themselves in? I already looked at the bowl projections, and somebody at ESPN had us going to the Alamo Bowl.
I don't want the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
Hey, Or wait, is the Alamo Bowl part of the playoff this year?
No.
Maybe it
No.
is.
No.
Okay.
No, they were just saying
Okay,
that
well,
we
you know
weren't in
what?
the
You
playoffs.
you always kind of jokingly call the Cougs America's team.
They are
But
America's team.
if we made the college football playoff this year, everybody would be rooting for us.
Of course. That was the best part. And I was a little confused when I got down on the field. We get on the field and everyone's huddled around the stage and they're giving the trophy. And hey, Inslee, and your stupid UW hat on, when you hand the trophy over to Dickert, let it go. Let it go. No one needs your paws on it. It's not your trophy anymore. So let it go. You're not idiots holding it on for like 15 seconds. Let it go. Take off the stupid hat.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So what was he wearing, a Coug hat, or what did he be?
Who? Inslee? He's wearing a Husky hat.
Oh, is he a Husky? I don't
he's
even
a Husky.
know, man.
Anyways, everyone started chanting USA. I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on. Everyone's like, USA, USA. And I'm like, I don't get the USA chant. And this woman next to me goes, it's because she goes, we're a rural town. We're real America, not like this big fucking city.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
All right.
Kids, let's move along.
No, that was just an all timer, man. That was just so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. God, I FaceTime my kids over in Pullman. I don't even know what was said, but I mean, I just, to see the looks on their faces and to see them partying it up over there in Pullman.
Yeah.
And then, to see the buses come back to Pullman at 8:00 and the greeting they got there at Bowler Gym. I mean, just the whole thing was just fun all the way around.
We didn't even get to anything else. We haven't even got, the Mariners are still alive. We'll get to all this on Wednesday. Mariners still alive. The Seahawks grinded it out. Gino looked good. But we'll get to that on Wednesday. This was going to be all about the Cougs. Rightfully
well,
so.
Good call on that. I mean, you got the Seahawks roundtable coming up next anyway, don't you?
Yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got? A hike today? What do you got in store here?
No, I was
Monday?
already out with the dogs this morning. I'm not sure what I'm going to do this afternoon, but I'm just going to wear my Cougar stuff, and hopefully people will be saying "Go Cougs" when I see them around town.
You're the best. You're the absolute best. All right. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday.
Okay, Puck. Go Cougs. Take care, man.
Go Cougs. There he is, Jim Moore, the go-to guy. He joins the Daily Puck Drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on the Daily Puck Drop. We'll get to our Seahawks roundtable here in a quick second. We'll talk to Curtis Crabtree and also Tim Booth, the HawksNest, which is, of course, brought to you by Georgetown Beer. And a reminder that Jim Duquette is coming up a little bit later to talk a little baseball. But I knew we were going to cover just pretty much all the Cougs in that one, that we were never going to get to the Seahawks. Never were going to get to the Mariners. But now we'll get to a little Seahawks, because as great as that was on Saturday, it's a hell of a win on Sunday for the Seahawks. And joining us right now, as they do every Monday, to talk a little Seahawks, it is Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree. It's a HawksNest roundtable. It's proudly brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by two diehard Husky fans. How do you feel today, Manny and Roger? Huh? How's that beer taste? I tell you, the beer for me tasted perfect on Saturday night. Locally owned and operated. Again, they've been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 23 years. Makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Alpha IPA, and a host of your other favorite brews. Tap room is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Visit them online at georgetownbeer.com. Tim, Curtis, how are you? Everything good?
Everything's good for me, yeah.
Tim, how are you?
I figured this was a continuation of the Cougar postgame show.
Well, we could, if we could, I could spend about another hour on it if you guys would like. It was.
Hey, have you broken down the decision to call 4th and 1 speed option to the boundary on 4th and goal from the 1?
I was hoping at some point, Tim, during the Seahawks game, I think it was their first 4th down play, right? The only time they went for it on 4th down. I said, Geno Smith speed option. I mean, give it a try. You never know what could happen. It may work. I'd rather have Geno Smith doing a speed option than Will Rogers. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think that would probably be a much wiser decision than to go with the A little bit more cumbersome quarterback running that play. Like,
They get a victory yesterday. I kind of wanted to get just your opening thoughts on what you guys saw yesterday. Curtis, let me start first with you. It didn't look pretty at times. It could be an ugly game, but they grinded out a win, and any team will tell you it doesn't matter how you do it as long as you just get a win. And they're 2-0, and they beat, which might be a better team than people realize by the end of the year.
Yeah, I thought that Patriots team did a lot of things well. Like, they have their deficiencies. They have a low ceiling on what I think they are as a team. But they played a good football game yesterday. And to go on the road and get a victory when you have some things not going totally your way, a running game that was completely non-existent without Ken Walker available for them. They needed, a few key guys to have big performances, and Geno Smith was the biggest one of them by far to play as well as he did to kind of carry the day for them. Defense had its ups, had its downs. The receivers were great for the most part. And yeah, to start the season 2-0, this is what you thought they needed to do to have the kind of season you thought that they were maybe capable of. They needed to come out of the gate with a 2-0 start. Now they get a game against Miami this week where Tua's not even going to play, more than likely. I'm going to assume he's not. And that's going to lead to some, maybe a chance to go 3-0 out of the gate. So a very nice start to the season for the Seahawks in a lot of ways.
Tim, what was your takeaway from yesterday's game?
Well, I think we saw some regression from the defense based on kind of what we'd seen in week 1, and that's probably to be expected. Teams have tape on you now; they have a little bit better understanding of what you're trying to do on that side of the ball. I thought the tackling took a step back yesterday, kind of how good we felt it was against Denver. It wasn't quite as sharp or crisp as it was yesterday against the Patriots. It's kind of been the long bugaboo of the Seahawks is giving up massive games to tight ends. And here's Hunter Henry with like 15 catches in the first half or whatever his final number ended up being. But the trade-off to that was the Patriots had almost absolutely nothing from their wide receivers. I think until late in the fourth quarter, they had 2 catches from wide receivers, and both of them were by Jalen Polk. So I think defensively, you felt like they did what they needed to do. Stevenson didn't have a huge game. Brissett was Brissett. Offensively, yeah, as Curtis said, there was no semblance of a run game. And I think a lot of that had to do with some issues on the offensive line. I think we also had a little bit of more of appreciation of what Ken Walker can do coming out of yesterday. And that's not meant to be a knock on Zach Charbonnet. They're different styles of runners, but Walker's ability to make some guys miss when the blocking isn't there. I think that kind of his absence in that ability kind of stood out yesterday. And then at the end of the day, Geno Smith was spectacular. I mean, he was absolutely spectacular yesterday. And the numbers, I don't think the numbers fully do it justice, because you take out those, or you put back in those 5 drops. We're talking about maybe like a 38 for 43 day, which is just a mind-boggling number to put up as a passer, and not everything being, dink and dunk down the field, but actually pushing the ball down the field at times. So they got a spectacular performance from their quarterback yesterday, and that allowed them the ability to grind out a win like that on the road.
Curtis, what's just stood out to me about the offense's performance, and just to piggyback on what Tim said about Geno Smith, the play calling there from Ryan Grubb, and I just cite one number, and that's 30, and that's the combined targets between DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. It just felt like you have an offensive coordinator who has decided to, let's get the ball to our best playmakers. And it's just something that, from an offensive coordinator perspective, feels like, to me, has been missing for many, many years with this team.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday's game certainly played in that fashion. I mean, if you look a week ago against Denver, they didn't have as many of those opportunities just with the way that the game kind of went. And so I still think it will be something that's a little bit hit and miss. And I mean, they're still struggling to get like the number of plays in a game to truly let their offense get more opportunities to do stuff as well. They had 60 plays, I think, week 1, 66 plays this week. So it's not like they're putting up 74 plays and really getting a chance to see the offense do, a ton of stuff with the just the volume of plays that they have. And so for them to be as efficient as they ended up being in the passing game with those numbers kind of being where they are, I think speaks to, again, how good Geno was yesterday. And, it's one of the things that I wrote in my post-game takeaways about this game yesterday. Is, it's getting a lot harder for Geno haters to kind of have ground to stand on. Like, at the end, he's putting up really good performances, and there's a lot of sample size. He's a pretty good quarterback. And yesterday's game was just another one of those examples that goes to the pretty high end of the scale for him.
Yeah, it's. I think everyone's always looking for the next quarterback, to
Sure.
replace him. And again, one thing, at least from, that comment, Tim, is I don't think it's unfair to say they don't have the future at quarterback, because they don't. He's old. They do need to find somebody eventually to where maybe he can groom them, or just they need a future at that position. But in this offense, with his skill set, there's all the talent in the world with Geno Smith. There really is. Right, Tim? There's not a throw that he can't make on the football field.
No, not at all. He is one of the best deep ball throwers in the league, without question. His accuracy when he has the time to set his feet is among the best in the league. Like, he doesn't necessarily miss. I've overheard kind of some conversations coaches have had this during training camp and during the off-season program, and I think Geno has surprised some of the coaches coming in with how good his accuracy is. Like, he's better in person than he is on tape, and that's kind of a refrain I've heard a couple of times from coaches during the off-season program. So yes, to your point, you don't necessarily have the future here, because you don't necessarily want to invest your future in a guy who's 34 right now, but appreciate what you have in the moment. I think that's kind of the thing that fans should look at right now, is appreciate the fact that you have a guy who was sort of left for dead in the NFL universe, who has come back and now has really, I think, in this offense, an opportunity to thrive in a way that we didn't see the first 2 years that he was the full-time starter here. That first year was the transition year. And anything that he did that was, slightly good was deemed this incredible accomplishment, because no one had seen him play for so long, and everyone had the memories of where he was back when he was in New York. The second year, I think you saw some growing pains, not only with with Geno kind of figuring out the league, starting to figure out Geno a little bit, but then also the limitations of maybe the offense and what Shane Waldron was running and what Pete Carroll wanted that offense to be. And now you have an offensive coordinator who, it has the ability to make those adjustments kind of mid-game on the fly and say, okay, the run game's crap today. We can't get anything blocked. Okay, Geno, go win us the game. And he called the game that allowed Geno to do that. And so I think from a fan perspective of, yes, you always want to project to the future, and okay, is it Jalen Milroe, or is it, some other college quarterback right now? Hey, that's the guy we got to go get, and he can be our future quarterback. That's fine, but appreciate the fact that you have a pretty damn good quarterback right now who 2 games into the season has played pretty well.
Curtis, the one thing that we'll talk about every week and throughout the season is just going to be the play of the offensive line. There was times they looked better than they did in week 1. You tell me, why was that the case? There's probably some elements of play calling and decision making there by Geno. They didn't run the ball particularly, but they didn't run the ball at all. So that's a knock against them. There still were some struggles overall, but their play. Did you see them improve from week 1 to week 2? If you did, maybe you didn't. What would you attribute that to?
I think they were probably better in pass protection than they were in week 1, but the run game just wasn't there. And as Tim kind of alluded to earlier, last week, Ken Walker was able to make that extra unblocked guy miss and get something out of a few of those runs, including the touchdown run. Stone Forsythe completely whiffed on the second level, and Walker's able to get around him and get to the outside and get a touchdown out of that play. Zach Charbonnet got nothing extra yesterday when it came to on his running plays. He did on the last third down conversion on the pass that he caught out on the edge, which was a big play for them. But in the running game, he was not able to generate anything beyond what was blocked for him. And that was, I think, part of when it comes to the running game, that was a part of the issue as well. Sometimes the running back needs to do that. But they've had their struggles for sure, and that's going to be something they're going to need to clean up as things progress here. And they need to find some sort of a solution for it at some point. I do think there is still reason to give them some latitude, given Connor Williams working into the middle and Bradford having his leg rolled up the first week, and a couple of those things adding to the mix as well. But eventually they're going to need to have that unit kind of coalesce together and be something a little bit more than we've seen through 2 weeks.
What we make of it, Tim, you brought this up. It did stand out during the game was their tackling was so good in week 1. I mean, and everyone said the same thing. Everybody praised their tackling. Against the Patriots, it wasn't as sharp as it was in week 1. They gave up I got to look at the stat. How many yards did they give up on the ground? I mean, it was 185 yards on the ground. I mean, that's 36 carries when they were pretty one-dimensional what they were going to do. And then the thing that was maddening during the game is how many times did they have Jacoby Brissett wrapped up and ready to sack him? Then they couldn't bring him down. The guy was like Ben Roethlisberger back there. But that was one of the storyline was so great in week 1 was the tackling and all of that. How sure it was. Week 2 seems like they took a step back.
You think a defensive coach will like to have some film to chew his defense's ass on about coming out of a victory? Like that's probably Mike McDonald in a weird way is probably loving the fact that they maybe took a step back in some of those areas from where they were week 1. The running backs were better. Antonio Gibson was a starter in Washington at one time. Stevenson is kind of a bigger physical guy, a difficult guy to bring down. So I think you chalk a little bit up to that. The Patriots offensive line, I think, is better than what the Broncos offensive line is. So you add that in there. But I think it was just, you just have those days where you're not fundamentally sound. And I think that was a little bit of what it was yesterday. Just like guys weren't necessarily breaking down and getting guys down to the ground the same way that you saw in week 1. I thought they were more aggressive in week 1 too. And that could be a factor of playing at home. Like you've got that crowd, you've got the throwbacks, you've got the debut, you have all that excitement and energy coming out week 1. That defense played like its hair was on fire in the opener. And yesterday it was a little bit more reactive. It was a little bit more kind of on its heels and having to react to what the Patriots were doing, which is not the way that you want to play, long-term to have the best success on that side of the ball. And then to your point about the Brissett, that dude's a veteran. He's not a small quarterback either. He's got some size and stature to him. But yeah, Boye Mafe it felt like he could have had like 5 sacks yesterday. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Byron Murphy was right there for a couple of them too.
Yeah, what did Murphy end up? Did PFF have Murphy as the highest rated, like in terms of pressures?
I'd have to double check and look, but you felt him for sure. He was definitely, had an impact on that game, and he ended up with his first half sack, I guess, in the game with the one there with Leonard Williams.
Mm-hmm. And Williams was everywhere early on. I mean, they were there. That just was like you thought he was coming down, and then all of a sudden Brissett, or as my son called him the entire game, Brisket. For some reason, they had him sacked. It just felt like the entire game, and they just couldn't bring him down.
But you got to in the grand scheme of what you're hoping to get out of your pass rush. You're pleased with that aspect of it. You collapsed the pocket around him. You made it uncomfortable. You made him have to check it down a lot of times. Again, it goes back to Hunter Henry having this monster game in part because there was no opportunity for them really to push the ball downfield between the pressure that he was facing and the coverage that was being played in the secondary. Now, of course, you don't want the tight end to have, however many catches it was that Henry had. But in the bigger picture, I think you got what you wanted out of the pass rush. Yeah. You just didn't finish the play once you got there.
Hey, Curtis, we're gonna talk about the competition at right guard probably a lot. Between Anthony Bradford and Christian Haynes. I said it yesterday. I've seen the last of I don't need to see Anthony Bradford anymore. But the problem with that is if Haynes was so much better, he'd be in there, right? The coaches, they see it, they watch it. But we don't talk a lot about the left guard competition. Can there be any competition for Tomlinson at all?
Well, that would be a Christian Haynes, Anthony Bradford decision.
Okay. So whoever loses that out goes over there.
Exactly. So like it's the same collection of players you're pulling that from, same pool you're going to pull from. So I mean the biggest thing with Anthony Bradford is I haven't completely hated the way he's played, but like he's got to be on record for like pace for like the number of penalty calls he's had through 2 weeks of the season. Like every time it's like, penalty on the offense number 75, it's like, okay man, you got to stop holding guys and whatever else he's been called for already this season, because it seems like just about every time they have something called on the offense, it's on Anthony Bradford. So they have to get that cleaned up for sure.
Yeah, it's just the solutions there, because Tim, they've rotated a lot with Bradford and Haynes, and they did that yesterday. And then I think the natural reaction is, well, what about Tomlinson? Can they get somebody to end up rotating with him? I mean, but again, this will be a storyline that we'll talk about throughout the season, just based on these guys' play, because through the first 2 weeks, right, it just hasn't been all that good.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's the it's the lack of depth, it's the lack of options there. I mean, like as Curtis said, you have 3 guys for 2 spots. It's not like you have 5 guys that you could rotate in or give an opportunity to along the way. I've always and they're kind of a makeshift line right now anyway, as it is with Fant out and Stone Forsythe in there. I thought Haynes played better yesterday than he did in the when he got his little bit of run in the opener. So I do think that's going to be an ongoing thing, is throwing. I mean, you drafted him that high for a reason. He was projected to be, a pretty NFL ready offensive guard coming out of UConn. That I think you're going to see more of him getting that run in there. I don't know if it's necessarily going to trickle down to floating over to the left side and replacing Tomlinson, unless there's an injury concern or reason behind it. I think, as much as you're concerned about how Tomlinson has looked the first 2 weeks, there is something to be said about having some continuity on that side, protecting Gino's blind side and especially with how well Charles Cross has looked the first 2 weeks. So, but yeah, I think you'll see a little bit more Christian Haynes coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, late in the game when they ended up getting the tying field goal, before they made that decision, what was your guys? What did you think they were going to do, Tim? Did you think they were going to kick it? You think they were going to try and draw them off sides, which what they were trying to do, or were you an advocate like myself to go for it there? I mean, obviously it worked out well for them, but
I was looking at my play call sheet and I was going, do we go speed option to the boundary, or do we go fake handoff reverse pitch like the Apple Cup last year to DK coming around the backside?
Wow.
I think I would have been fine either way. I thought initially they were going to go for it, because how often at Washington did we see Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb go for it in that kind of situation and just sort of put the hammer down and try and put the game away in that moment? So my gut feeling was they were going to go for it, but I was fine with the decision to go to overtime, because you kind of felt like the momentum was on your side. Get the game to overtime and see what you can do, and obviously it worked out perfect with getting the stop on the first series. So I think I would have been fine either way, but I mean, how you can not choose speed option into the boundary on 4th and 1, I don't know.
He's never going to recover from that play. I don't care what Jetfish does. He's never going to get over that play ever in his tenure as the head coach of Washington. And I'm here for it, and I support it.
This is why me and Tim like being Central grads, because we can call both schools out when they do stupid stuff. And like right now, UW's got to wear that one, because that was not pretty this weekend for sure. Like of all the calls I thought they were going to make in that circumstance, I did not have that one in my back pocket, thinking that one was what they were going to go to.
What did you think that they were going to do? I mean, did you think they were going to try and go for it there in regulation?
I didn't. I thought it was purely just to try to get him to jump. And I mean, maybe if you come up there and they've left the B gap open or something, you can make you can make the decision to snap it and try to have Gino dive through it or something. But like, I thought it was going to be like, I think you'd make those decisions, particularly early in the season, like when you're concerned that you're not the better team, like you're trying to chase a win and get something and steal something from an opponent. I think the longer a game was going to play out, it was probably going to end up being in Seattle's favor more often than not. Seattle's offense, I certainly would take over New England's when all was said and done. So you tie that game up and hope that you can get the one stop you need to give your chance an offense. You either get it on the coin toss or you get yourself a one stop to give your offense a chance to win it in overtime with a field goal. So I thought that I certainly wasn't shocked that that's the route that they went.
You know what, Curtis, too? You know, it's shaping up perfect for them right now. You got the injury to Tua, so they get Miami here at home. They're favorites in that one. One would think that they, with Skylar Thompson playing quarterback, they should get that victory. And then they get the Lions Monday Night Football, which will be a test, obviously. And then you get the Giants before you face San Francisco on Thursday Night Football here at home. I mean, they've got a great opportunity, Curtis, to be 4-1 before they play San Francisco.
Yeah, and a San Francisco team that may not have Christian McCaffrey back yet and just lost to Minnesota yesterday. So, we're still learning things here early in the season about, everybody in the division, including the Rams, who apparently still can't figure out where Marvin Harrison's lined up to cover him in that game. So, yeah, I mean, it's the schedule. When we saw it come out back in the spring, like it was very much well, there's a soft landing for Mike McDonald's opening couple games with Denver and New England. You wanted them to be able to get those coming out of the gate. Now, because of the injury to Tua, Miami has softened a whole heck of a lot from what you thought, plus the way that they played through the first 2 weeks as well. So there is that opportunity there, and the Giants are as bad as we thought the Giants were. There is a chance to really kind of get ahead of the game here early on for the inevitable growing pains that I think you expect will come for this team at some point throughout the season. If you can do it from playing, ahead in the standings a little bit, it certainly helps their case a lot for making the playoffs and being the team they want to be by the end of the year.
God, and Tim, I watched I didn't see the full game, but the highlights of what Arizona, and looking back at the box score, what Arizona was able to do to the Rams yesterday. Jesus.
As good as Geno was yesterday, Kyler was. I mean, that's the kind of game you don't see very often. Like, take away the fact that he had a perfect passer rating, but just the shots that they were able to take on that Rams defense and the way they played. Everyone kind of thought Arizona was sort of the team that was going to surprise a little bit this year. I shouldn't say everyone, but there was a lot of people who felt like they were a team that was on the rise. And through 2 weeks, or at least yesterday, and how they played in the opener too in Buffalo, they definitely look like a team that's vastly improved. And so that's not the gimme games it has been for the division the last couple of seasons, at least right now.
And who would have thought that you lose the best defensive lineman of a generation and a team in the Rams gets worse? Who could have seen that coming? Like, it's almost as if Aaron Donald was pretty good, and them not replacing him with somebody like him is going to be a problem for them. In addition to the injuries to Cooper Kupp and to Puka Nacua. So,
Tim, it's a small sample size, 2 weeks. What has stood out to you about a Mike McDonald led Seahawks team?
They don't panic. I thought that was something yesterday. It didn't feel like there was any point in the game where there was any panic from the coaches or the players. And I think that's a sense of how, calm and sort of controlled he is. He's super analytical in how he thinks. So I think that resonates with his players. So I thought that was something that stood out yesterday was, they're not playing great at times. They have no run game. The defense is getting gashed a little bit. It didn't feel like there was any, it was very process oriented, process driven. And I think that resulted in a calm demeanor that allowed them to play, pretty well there in the fourth quarter and then get what they needed done in overtime. So that's something that's kind of stood out the first 2 weeks. I think the defense is going to be a little bit more along the lines of what we saw week 1 than what we saw week 2. At least that should be the hope. Because if it is, I think the defense has a chance to be pretty good overall. And, I go back to Geno. I think, Geno is Geno's damn good. I guess that's the best way to say it. And when you have a system that allows him to take advantage of the skill guys that he has in the way that they did yesterday, to your point, Puck, 30 targets between JSN and DK. That might not be that's probably not going to be the breakdown every week. It might be, 10 to DK, 8 to JSN, and 8 to Tyler, because Tyler was really not involved in things in the pass game yesterday. But whatever that whatever that is, they looked at it and said, we're going to get the ball to our best guys, period. And we're going to force feed it if we have to in certain situations and make sure that they are involved in whether we win or lose this game. And I think that's another thing that stood out, just the understanding and realization of, okay, these guys have to have the ball. And that's something that I think we've never really felt that way the last few years with Shane Waldron's offense. That it's a priority with this group.
Curtis, if you're Gino's agent, do you call Schneider back up again? Hey, do you guys want to talk? I mean, we're open to doing anything right now if you'd like. I mean, we could squeeze something out right now. What do you say? Come on, Schneider. How about a little extra cash?
I think if you're Gino's agent, you have faith that your guy's going to put up about 9 or 10 more of those sort of performances this year, and then you're going to be in a really nice place come the offseason. So, because, the Seahawks don't like to negotiate contracts with 2 years left on the deal. I don't see them answering that phone call, so to speak, at any point during the year as it is. So, but like you keep doing what you did on Sunday,
yeah,
it'll be a very nice place for the Smith camp to be at the end of the year for sure.
Yeah, no, he was so damn good. He was, the numbers. I think he was something like 14 of 17, damn near 200 yards when they were trailing. He was great. He just really was just phenomenal yesterday, and it was just fun to watch. And Curtis, as we wrap up, and Tim, I agree with you. I don't think they're gonna have games where those two have 30 targets. I guess what I just liked about it yesterday was they knew they couldn't run the football. They had to win a different way. They had to win with passing the football. I just think under Waldron and other guys that they've had in the past, they would have still tried to run the football, or they wouldn't have adjusted. And I think Grubb, we saw it in week 1, him adjust, to what type of running plays they called or different schemes that they did. And I think they went into this game, and then he's like, all right, we can't run it. Let's just target these guys. And, Smith's got it going, and so does JSN, and so does DK. Let's go. And they kept going. The other thing, too, I liked, maybe Waldron did this, I don't know. There was 2 different occasions yesterday during the game that I can recall where it was 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 18. I swear to God, in the past, they would have run a draw or something and just not try to get it. And I don't think they even got the 3rd down conversions. But you know what they did? They tried. They tried to pick up the 18 yards on first, to get the first down.
Yeah.
I just like that. I like that. Let's be aggressive and not sit back and run Max Strong up the middle.
Well, there was a sense of a stubbornness in the past among the offensive coordinators here, and some of that had to do with the fact that Pete was kind of had an influence on what their philosophy was on how they approach things. This group, Mike McDonald wants to know what's going on, but he's busy trying to figure out what the hell the defense is going to do.
Right.
With the next time they're out there, Ryan Grubb is in some ways has this weird amount of autonomy for a first-time offensive coordinator in the NFL to sort of do whatever he wants to do. And if what he wants to do says, we can't run the damn ball today, okay, we're just going to throw it 30 times in the second half or whatever the number was, that's what they're going to do. And he showed that adaptability at Washington under a head coach who was far more flexible and was very involved in what the offense was going to be like. And I think that's carried over to what we've seen the first 2 weeks with the Seahawks.
There it is. It's the HawksNest Roundtable with Curtis Crabtree and Tim Booth. It's all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. They have been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 23 years. Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Off, a host of your other favorite beers, Lucille, Rogers, all of it. Tap room is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Go visit them at georgetownbeer.com. In fact, click on that, take a picture of that QR code if you're watching the stream right now, and you will be taken right to georgetownbeer.com. You can watch the replay of this again on YouTube, listen to it, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and, of course, at PuckSports.com. Gentlemen, great rest of the week. We'll chat with you coming up next Monday. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Puck.
All right.
Hey, Buck.
Yep, there they are, Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree, the great HawksNest podcast. And again, every Monday, we do it live around 10:45 or 10:40-ish. And then again, all up on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcast. All right. Well, we've covered the Cougs. We've done the Seahawks. We've got to talk a little Mariners baseball before we wrap it up with the Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One. We got to cover it all. That's what we do here at PuckSports, here, especially on a busy Monday here in the fall. Let's talk a little baseball with our baseball guy. It's Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio. He's the best in the biz. He's a former GM with the Mets and the Orioles, current host of MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM. Monday visits brought to you by the Great Flat Stick Pub. Click on that QR code. It's going to take you right to a Flat Stick Pub. Perfect spot for date night, guys night, ladies night, large group event. Great place for the Cougs, who were victorious this weekend in the Apple Cup. Visit one of their 6 locations across the Northwest at flatstickpub.com. Jim, how are you? Good
What's
weekend?
going on? Hey, it was a good weekend. How about yourself?
Great weekend. My alma mater, Washington State University. We won the Apple Cup. It was great.
Very nice.
The Mariners keep winning. The Seahawks win. It was a trifecta of a weekend. The Mariners, they don't want to die, Jim. They don't want to go away.
They keep hanging in there. You know, Major League Baseball, other teams want to put a fork in them, but they're not ready to go quite yet. I tell you, it's been fantastic, right? 8 of the last 11, beating Texas 3 or 4. Like, Texas is down, obviously. They're missing Corey Seager. They've had a tough season, but still, they had 3 really good pitchers matched up against them in the first 3 games of that series. The rookie Kumar Rocker, who can be absolutely filthy, nasty, and then, of course, DeGrom and Scherzer. And you look at what they have done during that stretch, what Julio has done during that stretch, the offense in general. Well, I can't even believe I'm saying this. The offense is actually looks good right now. There's some things that they're doing that they haven't done all season.
They've talked about that. They've talked about the influence, Jim, of Edgar Martinez and what he has made to the team, what he's made to the offense. They've said, and they've all repeated this, it's not like he's overwhelmed them with information. He's asked them to reel it back and simplify, right? Simplify the approach. And in this day and age, with so much information, Jim, we've talked about this a lot. It's probably hard to pull back at all the information you're getting, but you have an old school player with an old school approach.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about some sort of simplification. It sounds, as we've talked about a lot, it sounds like things were overly complicated, and you can get paralyze yourself as a hitter if you're over analyzing the statistical aspects of what is this pitcher trying to do to get me out. It's not just he's getting me out with fastballs or breaking balls. What it seems like they were trying to do is trying to slice that pie even thinner and say, well, hey, in 2-0 counts, this pitcher likes to throw breaking balls 60% of the time or 55% of the time. Well, you're trying to make these estimates and guesses. And listen, hitting is hard, especially in that ballpark, right? So that to me, really stands out. But what Edgar has basically said, listen, we're going to go back to this. Hey, let's work off the fastball. When we have opportunities to score runners, especially with runners on third, their numbers here recently, they've had the chances to score with a runner on third less than 2 outs. They've scored 62% of them so during this stretch, really under Dan Wilson and Edgar, which is a number that is well above what they did over the course of the season. So just simply putting the ball in play with a runner on third and scoring runs. It seems simple to all of us, but they were having a hard time with it too. So I think all of that is kind of stands out to me as what Edgar has brought to the table here.
Yeah, are they running out of time though? I mean, they still look at the division right now, and you're 4.5 games back.
Yeah.
Of the Astros. Now again, they've got 6 games right in front of them before they end up playing Houston, that pivotal series. They're 2.5 games back of the Twins, but it's really 3.5 because of the tiebreaker that the Twins and Tigers have. They are playing better baseball. You don't doubt it, but are they just going to run out of games? They have 12 games left in the season.
I mean, that's the problem that we're seeing here, right? And they've got 2 series left at home. One of them is against the Yankees. Yankees are still playing for something. That becomes increasingly more difficult. Now, the silver lining is you go to Texas. Hopefully you can go beat up them for 3. But then you have Houston, who's still playing for the division, and then Oakland coming back at home, I think, is how they finish. Now, Detroit has some tougher games as well in the first parts of their series. First parts of the schedule, Kansas City and Baltimore coming up. And who's the other team Houston he says, San Diego right now for 3, and then they have a tougher part with the Angels, obviously the Mariners, and they finish at Cleveland. So, I think when you look at it, yes, they're going to run out of time. But, if they can play, they're going to have to play almost perfect baseball. 8-4, and the other teams are chasing play 500. Okay, maybe they get in that way, but it's going to be difficult. I think that's the hard part. It's going to be hard to swallow. Sit there at the end of this, you go, wow, they're going to end up with 86 wins. They're not going to get in again. And, there's a lot of games between the middle of June to the middle of September that you're like, man, they should. I mean, there's no reason why they should be on the outside looking in.
Well, that's what we talk about it a lot. There's always been this feud or this ongoing war sometimes between like baseball fans and football fans, and it's a totally different sport. Everyone acknowledges that, but sometimes I think the baseball fan will just not get so worried about the early losses in the season. It's not football. Don't worry about it. You can't react to every game you lose. But then I always sit back and go, but they all count.
Right.
Like no one's expecting any of them to go 162-0, but all of these games count. And so when you kick a series early, in the first month or 2 months of the season, and that stuff comes back and haunts you. I mean, I guarantee we could sit back once this season is over, and if they miss the playoffs, we can circle just a handful of series in which, God, if they just goes better in that series or two, they're in the postseason.
Right. Yeah. They just score 1 run or more, or 2 runs more, right? They win. If they took care of business against the teams that are below 500, like that's generally what you're trying to do, is trying to win the series and the bad teams and play 500 ball against the good ones. If you can do that, that's usually a good recipe to winning close to 90 games. But I do think that, balance to a roster is most important, moving forward. And the one thing that we've seen over the course of the major leagues last few years, and we've seen it in full circle with Seattle this year, is you can't go into a season with such strong pitching and, not anywhere equal to the offense. The offense has to play its part to help you win their share of games, because your pitching isn't going to continue as dominant as the pitching has been. There's still going to be periods of time where they're not pitching up to their capabilities. And by the way, there's pressure that's put on them to be perfect every single night. We've heard a couple of those guys say that over the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of them. I mean, it's every time they go out there, they have to be damn near perfect. They can't simply, make a mistake at all when they go out there on the mound. And I think it's also going to bring up, the question, let's say if they just miss it by a game or two, and, we acknowledge the offense has looked better here since Dan Wilson and Edgar have taken over. It's people are going to react. This is why you should have made the move earlier. This is why you should have made the decisions earlier to move on. And I'm not saying that they're right. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but it's just people will start wondering, God, if we'd done this a month earlier, a few weeks earlier, maybe they sneak in.
Now that we know what we know, right? We have the ability to look back. I never would have thought that making a move with Scott Service was what they would do, right? Never ever imagined that they would do this. And I never, in fairness, I didn't think he was the problem. It's been the offense, it's been the overall hitting approach more than anything. If you kind of look back at this, they've changed over the hitting guy twice in one season. I've never seen that. At least you see it once during the course of the season. They did it twice, and so they're setting records for new hitting coaches. It's just absurd to me, right? So I don't understand. I don't understand that part. So, but looking at it now, all right. Well, there's a new, whatever. There was a cloud that was hanging over the clubhouse or over the team. Maybe that was it. That happened. It does happen. Unfortunately, guys, lose their job. It's part of the business. But I kind of look at that and say, wow, they should have had this hitting philosophy figured out, well before the September stretch run that we're seeing right now.
You know what's so funny about it, Jim? I don't even think it's a philosophy. I just think it's just normal. It's like duh. I just think Edgar Martinez just went in there and just told these guys, stop looking at all the stuff. Just go up there and hit. You know what they're going to throw. We'll tell you what they're going to throw. You know he's got a fastball, or he's got a here's his slider, and here's his curveball, and here's all of it. But stop being so paralyzed with all the video and information we're going to give you. Just go up there like when you were in Little League. Just see the ball and hit the ball. I really think that's just kind of what he's done.
Yeah. No, I think that there is a big part of that. There's no question. Listen, the other aspect of this, right, during this stretch, Julio has gone off, right? Going into yesterday's game, Julio's had 355 batting average. You've seen some of the power numbers go up, tick up. All of a sudden, Garver looks like he's starting to swing the bat a little bit. But I want to say this, though. I want to make sure that for Mariners fans that are watching, that this, what has gone on, right, is completely unacceptable. Even if they end up with a winning record, this stretch run, no matter how well they play in September, absent of getting to the postseason, is not acceptable baseball. And what ends up happening sometimes in the front office is you hang your hat in the winter on, we had a rough second half, but we played well in September. We're trending up, and we don't have to make big changes. No, they don't. Yes, they do. Actually, they can't do the same old, and that to me is like, is Edgar going to be back next year? I would hope so. I don't know, if they signed him up long term or not. I don't recall that, but Edgar needs to be back. They need to find a way to keep him, in the mix. They need to do some things this winter in terms of recruiting offensive players. Julio and Cal, Raleigh, and guys that have been here for a while, they need to dispel this myth that, hey, listen, we're hitting in the Grand Canyon. That's what this league everyone thinks that you can't hit the ball out of that ballpark on a consistent basis. They have to dispel that, or the team has to do something about it as well.
It's a perfect segue, because you shared something with me, an article that from The Athletic, talking about the role that Buster Posey has now taken with the San Francisco Giants ownership group. More hands-on. That seemed like he was very instrumental in Matt Chapman signing a deal there to remain in San Francisco. What is it that Posey now is doing with the Giants? Just, expand on that. And then who could that person here in Seattle be to help out this front office and help out this ownership group?
So it's interesting because as soon as he retired, he bought into an ownership stake in the Giants. So it's a little different. If there was a former Mariner that could buy into, and there's plenty of them, but let's say, for argument's sake, I don't know if Ichiro would do that, but to me,
Griffey's a
Griffey would be
owner.
A good one. There you go, Griffey. Let's use Griffey as an example. But what Buster Posey's doing, and what a guy like Griffey could do, if you're part ownership, is first off, they have some a lack of faith right now in the front office. They've had in San Francisco and in Seattle. Okay, so there's some similarities here. San Francisco has not gotten to the postseason only one time during this stretch. Oh, guess what? Same thing there in Seattle. They've had down seasons this year, didn't get to the postseason. They try to change things over, and so and there was an extension that was given to the Giants front office, and guess what? There was an extension given to the Mariners front office. So there's more similarities than differences here. It's a tough place to hit in San Francisco. Yep. Same thing in Seattle. But what Buster Posey did was he got involved. They did not have faith that their general manager could close out a deal with Matt Chapman. Right? Matt Chapman just had signed on a one-year deal. They were working through some things, and he jumped in and had direct conversations with the player. Hey, we want you here. If what's the holdup is a no trade clause, you're getting a no trade clause. Like they went to that kind of level. And Buster moving forward is going to be more actively involved in having conversations with players from outside to try to attract them there. And by the way, in the same article, other players with the Giants had said the same thing. That's what the Mariners have to do. They're in the same boat where if they're getting held up on some negotiations here, then maybe it's Griffey, maybe it's somebody else gets involved. If they're having a hard time attracting players, that it needs to be a full-out blitz. Who can say no to Julio Rodriguez? That's hard to do if you're a player out there, as long as the money's there. And again, it's always going to wrap back into the money. The Giants ownership has shown a willingness to spend where the Mariners haven't. And that's where the difference stops. And that's a big difference. But that's the type of activity that you're going to need from the Mariners, I think, to attract better offensive talent.
Yeah, and I want to applaud what you said because I think as well as they're playing right now, and as people are getting excited in this town and all of it, even if they sneak in, this is a disappointing season because this was not what it was supposed to be. This wasn't supposed to be getting in on the final day of the year and sneak into a wild card.
Right.
The goal was to win the division. The goal was to win the division, get to the playoff, obviously get to the playoffs, but get to the World Series. And with this pitching staff, you have as good a chance of anyone to win the whole damn thing. And we've joked about this before on other shows is I could envision a scenario where they get in the offseason, Jim, and they start praising themselves for saying, well, we missed it by a game or two. The future is bright. We're almost there. We've got this next wave of talent coming. Stay with us. No, that's not what it is. That continues to push the goalposts with this organization. Don't look at what they've done here in the last month. They need to reevaluate how they start off the season so they're not in this position again. And that's on everyone. It's ownership, front office, players included. So, yeah. I'm going to be real, hesitant to give them too much praise how they finished.
No, I don't think you can because the division, this was the year the division was in grasp. Right.
Yes.
You don't get many opportunities to take the division, win the division. Every year is different. Listen, I don't want to, we'll knock on wood. There's no jinxing here, but you may have injuries to pitchers next year that derail your season. Like there's things that happen across the league all the time. And so when you have the opportunity to win, you try to take advantage of it. And, they missed out on a golden opportunity to beat Houston, again, 10-game lead. We don't have to go down that road again, how quickly it evaporated. But, I think that, it's up to the fan base to hold the ownership accountable here in the wintertime to make sure that they're active and that they're spending to get out of this rut that they're in and the lack of postseason appearances, because it's just not acceptable. The 540 winning percentage isn't acceptable. It's getting into postseason is what matters. Even if it's 83 wins, 84 wins, but you get into the postseason, that matters more than any type of winning percentage. So, I think that's where, fans, if they're excited, hey, great, enjoy this run. But whether they get in or not, remember that they missed an opportunity and keep pushing for ownership to spend.
Hey, last thing for you. Is Ohtani really going to pitch in the postseason? Do you, Dave Roberts kind of hinted at it. I wouldn't shut the door on it. This was the whole reaction to the glass now being done. Do you think they'd really do it?
No, I would be stunned. You didn't hear from Andrew Friedman, their president of baseball operations. But if you remember last year, a year ago, Walker Buehler was coming back from Tommy John surgery, and there were actually videos of him, and he was throwing gas. He was throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. And there was thought that he might come back, and he had Tommy John, I think, earlier the year before than when Ohtani did. Ohtani had surgery last September. So, and it wasn't quite the same Tommy John surgery, but there was a brace that was involved with it too. But, recovery periods from this type of surgery are usually 15 months. And I cannot imagine that with the amount of money they gave him to be a two-way player, right? He's going to be pitch and be a position player for the foreseeable future, that they would risk him in a one-inning stint or a two-inning stint and have him pitch in the postseason. I just don't see it. I know Dave Roberts didn't want to close the door on that, but if I'm in the front office, I'm coming out over the next couple of days and say, there's no way that he's going to be pitching this year, and close the door. And then, by the way, if he does progress, in the slight chance that he's like, oh my, like he is ready, okay, you can change your mind. But I would not put out hope out there that there's even a crack in the door that he could come back, because I think it'd be putting him at risk.
Yeah, we are weeks away from the playoffs, but I tell you, it's gonna be a great playoff. And God, it's gonna be awesome. This year's MLB playoffs, because I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. And that's the frustrating part with the situation that Seattle put themselves in, because there is not a clear front runner to win the whole thing. There just isn't.
No.
And even the Dodgers have their issues. They got a lot of issues with their starting pitching and all that. And I just think what an opportunity for them this season. And if they miss it, they just blew it. But it's going to be fun. My God. It's going to be a wild playoffs.
Yeah. And, like you said, even in the National League, when you have the Dodgers and the Phillies that look like clear-cut favorites. We've seen clear-cut favorites not do anything in the postseason, right? Last year, a 100-win team in Atlanta got bounced. So did the Dodgers. There really is, I think, more than I can remember in the last few years, kind of a you pick 'em type of postseason. Anyone could do it.
That's it for the Jim Duquette Show. Every Monday we talk baseball, a little Mariners, a little MLB with Jim Duquette, former Mets and Orioles GM, current host, MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM. You can please visit Flat Stick Pub as they bring you Jim Duquette every single week. Perfect spot for a date night, guys' night, ladies' night, large group event. Visit one of their 6 locations across the Northwest at flatstickpub.com. Click on that QR code as well. It's going to take you right to Flat Stick Pub. You're the best. We've got one more week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Look forward to it. See you, Puck. Bye.
There he's Jim Duquette, MLB Network radio host, talking all things baseball. And I'm just glad that he said it, because I think that's a lot. I think that's how every Mariner fan needs to feel. Every one of them. Because I'm telling you that just this idea that we should sit there and be so excited for how they finish. And I mean, honestly, maybe it's bad. Even if they somehow find themselves, back into this race and sneak in. I mean, to me, it's still a disappointment just in terms of their inability to get off to these starts where they're not having to grind in the last half of the season to get in. And I know we'll all be excited that they got in the postseason. I'm not saying don't be excited that they get in the postseason. I'm just saying it didn't need to come to that this season. This season, it just needed to be easier for them. It just did, and they needed to take advantage of the situation, and they didn't take advantage of the situation. And they, I think a lot of people are going to look back on this season and just wasted opportunities for this team, because they could have easily have wrapped this thing up a long time ago. And they should have wrapped it up a long time ago. All right, let's get to it. It is our final segment. It is Hey What the Puck. It's brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Give them a call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. You see the headline there, Ian Furness dream job. Really, the Ian Furness dream job here on Hey What the Puck is probably to be here at PuckSports. I mean, that really is probably his dream job. You've probably have seen the news, though, today. They finally announced it, that Ian is the new pre- and post-game. He's the new studio host for the Seattle Kraken, as they now have ventured onto their new platform on King and Kong and Amazon Prime. This is his dream job. This is a job that he's always wanted. I feel like I'm speaking for him. He's going to be able to speak for himself coming up here shortly, which you should tune in and listen to him talk of how much it means to him. He's a TV guy at heart. He's been doing radio forever, but the TV broadcasting is in his blood. Many of you probably don't know his father was a long time host and anchor at Como News. And this is something he's always wanted to do. I know how passionate he is about hockey. I know how passionate he is about the Kraken, but that sport. And this is something he's wanted for a very long time. And he was disappointed, early, in that first round of hires, when, initially with the Kraken jobs. He was, and it was okay to be disappointed, because this is something he wanted. He is a tremendous broadcaster. He's going to kill it on the TV side of things. He's a great radio broadcaster and all that. But as I think I noted earlier on Twitter /X, he's a better person, a better friend. And he's a gem in this town. I'm so happy for him. I think everyone that's come, that's crossed paths with Ian is so excited for his new adventure there for the Kraken. He's going to crush it. He's going to be better than anyone. He's got the most knowledge in this town about that sport. Most importantly, he's got the most passion for it. And it's a guy that, people in our industry take a couple of different paths to get where we're at. Some people just, right into radio or right at, at a top 10, top 15 market. Where they've interned and they get the job right away and they never have to go anywhere else. Ian and I, we took separate approaches. We grinded in a lot of small town markets and small town radio for a long time, for years to get where, we were at. And a lot of people have got to do that as well. And a lot of people on TV do that as well. You've heard Egan talk about the years that he was up and down in the Oregon coast working as well. I worked down in Medford and things like that. Ian grinded on the bus rides and all those small little towns in the Western Hockey League, and probably dreaming of a moment, like this, where he got to work for an NHL team, to be whether it's play-by-play or to be in the role that he is in now. And the fact is, as that he is, let's be honest, he's on the latter stages of his career. He knows that. It's perfect to where he's at in the stage of his life to have this opportunity. So wish him well. Reach out to him, please, because this is something that we all have goals in life. Whatever your goals are, and you probably have a dream job, whatever that is. This is something that he has been working towards, ever since he probably stepped, foot off campus at Washington State and was working at Como and working all those small towns in the WHL, was a goal like this. And he accomplished it. It was announced today, and I'm just thrilled for him. Just so thrilled for the opportunity that he has. So shout out to Ian, and great job there by the Seattle Kraken to make him their new studio host. All right, that's it for Hey, What the Puck. I'll send the check to you later, Finesse. It's all brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online, restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to all the guests today. Jim Moore, of course, who joins us Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. HawksNest with Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree. Jim Duquette. All of that will be podcast up later. Find on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Coming up later, or coming up tomorrow, I should say, on the program. John Canzano stops on by. We'll talk college football, Apple Cup, everything that's going on right now. Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. More on the Seahawks, the victory, the play of Geno Smith, and then a little baseball with Bill Krueger from Root Sports. So we'll do that all coming up tomorrow. But we got to close out the show.
To go ahead.
I'm going to play one more time. I'm sorry.
Rodgers,
I'm terrible. I know.
Pitch. Didn't get it. They stopped him. Cal Thornton, the captain linebacker.
Go Cougs.
With a game-saving play.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
Shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!